Welcome back to 𝐓𝐿 Gaffer Tutorials, and today we're going to carry on with the Leicester City save that we started in the first tutorial episode, and I'm going to talk you through the basics of setting up your scouting when you join a new club. So let's get into it. So to have a look at your recruitment team, we come over to the left hand side, click on the staff button, and then we come to this centre panel. Recruitment team, 17 recruitment team members. So we've got Director of Football, Technical Director, Chief Scout, Ordinary Scouts, Recruitment Analyst and a Loan Manager. And if we look down there, the right hand side number of those after the slash basically tells you how many at the moment the club are allowing you to have. So if we look down that, Director of Football, we can have 1, Technical Director 1, Chief Scout 1, we can have 10 scouts, 4 recruitment analysts and 1 loan manager. At the moment we have 11 scouts, so we're 1 over budget. We have no chief scout and no technical director. Now if at any time you want to try and increase staff numbers, this applies to coaches, scouts and medical staff, you can ask the board. It'll work better at the bigger clubs than the smaller clubs. Obviously finances play a big part in this. If you come to this button here, click that and there's a drop down menu, and in there we can ask for further staff. So if we click Scouts Allowed, we'll be asking for another scout. There is another way of doing it. So we come back over to the left hand side and we go into Club Vision, and then come over to this side, make a board request. And again, we can ask for various things in there. At the moment, we're concentrating on scouts, so we go down to staff, and then the drop down box, we can go Scouts Allowed. So there's 2 ways of doing it. So if we click on Scouts Allowed, then we get this box pops up, board request. The board will get back to you shortly to let you know of their decision. So once you click OK, then the inbox very shortly will come up with their decision of whether they will let you have another scout or not. It's always good to keep asking for extra scouts, extra staff as a whole. It's always good to keep asking for more, because the more coaches and scouts and medical staff members that you've got, the better your team will be run. So once that request has been accepted or denied, that request button will reset. Keep an eye out for that. As soon as that request button resets, you need to go back in again and ask again. The finances might have changed. The board might have had a little bit of a different view on what you're asking for. So it's always worth keep asking. So back to the staff screen. There's a little chevron at the side of the recruitment team. And if you click that, you get this screen comes up, which basically tells you all of the staff that you've got, the scouting staff, what contracts they're on, how much money they're earning, when the contract expires, the coaching qualifications, all useful information in there. As we can see, most of the staff's contracts expire in 2024, and as I'm recording this is 2021. So most of the staff at Leicester, the scouting staff at Leicester, have another 3 years to run on the contract. Now that can be great if you've got some really good staff in there with 19s and 20s for their chosen specialisation. However, let's just have a look at the first scout, Pablo Giacomusi. If we have a look at this now, for a scout, the 3 things that you want for a scout are, and these are highlighted, so for every staff member you will get their attribute that is highlighted is essential for them to do their job in the correct way. So if it's a coach, they will have maybe attacking on the tactical side. They will be highlighted as the essential things. So for a scout, judging player ability and judging player potential, those are the 2 main things. And the scores are out of 20. So we can see here that Pablo has got a 12 for each. That's not great for a Premier League team. And his adaptability is 9, again out of 20. Adaptability is really important. So if you hover over any of these attributes, it will tell you what it means. So I'll just read that out for you. A high adaptability attribute will enable the staff member to settle quickly in a new country, but will also help a little in settling in at new clubs and new roles. The faster a member of staff can integrate into their new working environment, the quicker and better they can do their job. So I think that speaks for itself. Let's just say, for instance, that we have an English scout who has an adaptability of 5. He might be a great scout. He might be 19s and 20s for ability and potential. So I wouldn't send him to France or South America. I would have him scouting in England because his adaptability is not great. Likewise, Pablo, his adaptability is 9. He's good at scouting England. He's good at scouting Italy. Not that great at Argentina. So he's an Italian. You would expect him to be great at scouting Italy. He's obviously been in England a while, so he's used to that. Sending him to Argentina wouldn't be a great idea with an adaptability of 9. So I think you can see where I'm going with this. Adaptability, player ability, player potential. Okay, so what do we do then if we've got a scout who's on, his contract runs out in 3 years' time, he's on £800 a week? What do? We've got 2 options. We either stick with him, keep him in England, send him to Italy. We have got quite a few scouts. We've already applied for another one, and we probably will carry on applying for them. We could end up with 15, 16 scouts at Leicester. So maybe it's not a massive issue. If we only had 5 or 6 scouts, then I would probably be looking to move Pablo on. And unfortunately, you can't transfer scouts in Football Manager. The only thing you can do really is to either sack them or ask for a mutual termination. So if we go up to contract and just hover over contract, you'll see in there we can offer him a new contract, which we wouldn't do. We can terminate his contract, which will cost us money, or we can go for a mutual termination, which, if he agrees to it, will cost us less money. So these are all things to have a play around with. In the past, when I've been playing Football Manager, I've tried to go for a mutual termination of a staff member, and they've come back and said no, they don't agree to it and they won't go. So then it's right, well, do I just sack him outright? It's going to cost the club money, because basically you're going to have to pay his contracts up. So it's a decision to be made. Clicking this back button will take you back to the staff screen again. So let's just have a look down the scouts. So Alan Reeves, he's English, adaptability of 14, judging player 13, ability and potential 12. Again, not great for the Premier League. Better adaptability, so potentially, you know, we could send him somewhere and over time he may adapt to the situation. Sean St. Ledger, let's have a look at him. So he's slightly better. Judging player ability 15, player potential 14. He's Irish. If we look here, he's suitable for England and the Republic of Ireland. And he's not too bad at the United States as well, with the adaptability of 12. So again, you know, I think it's a bit borderline to be sending him to America. But again, have a play around with it. I'm not going to do all of these, but the next 2 are quite good examples. So Victor Bazzani, he's Albanian. He's got an adaptability of 17, which is much better than the previous ones, but he's only got a 10 for ability and potential judging. It's a bit of a balancing act. He's got a good adaptability. If you look down, so he's actually great at Albania, Croatia, England, Poland, not so much, Cyprus, but he has got a little bit of more experience under his belt. If we go to look at the next one, David Mills, now he's got an adaptability of 13, but judging player ability 19, judging player potential 19. On the face of it, I wouldn't send him anywhere else but England, but he's got great ability for scouting in England. Okay, so the board have made a really quick decision on my request for another scout. They've actually given me 3 new scouts. This normally will come through on an email, but we're just sticking with the staff screen at the moment. And as you can see now, before it was 11/10, now it's 11/13. So my request for another scout, or to increase the number of scouts, Leicester are obviously quite forward thinking, and they give me 3 extra scouts, which is great. So I had 11 already. I was 1 over budget. Now I'm 2 behind budget. So we need 2 extra scouts now. We still need a chief scout. Just look at this bar chart for a second. If you can see the levels here of our scouting, very, very poor. If we hover over judging potential, we're 6th in the English Premier Division. The best is United, the worst is Watford. And same with the ability, we're 6th again, and same with analysing data. So again, best is United, worst is Watford. We're actually 4th, which I don't suppose is too bad, but these green lines really need to be hitting this line here so that we are the highest or very near to being the highest, because the better scouts we've got, the better scouting system we've got, the better players we'll be able to bring in. So we need 3 scouts. We need chief scout and 2 ordinary scouts. There's a couple of ways that we can do this. We can either go to hover over this button again, drop down box, place an advert, scouting. We can do it that way. That will place an advert. That does take a while to come through because the advert will have to run. It varies in time, and you just have to wait basically for people to apply for the job. The other way of doing it, which is the way I normally do it, is if we go up along this top line here and go to staff search, then come over to new search, and then in here there's either a quick or an advanced option. If we just go on the quick option, staff role any, so we want to go for recruitment. So all drop down boxes, very easy. We go down to scout. You can go down to employed, so either no, by a club, by a nation, any. You can select him by world reputation. The important thing for all staff members is the attributes. So if we go to pick, so in here we need to tick boxes. So as we've seen, the attributes for a scout are adaptability, judging player potential, judging player ability. So we can click those 2, and might want to leave adaptability off for now, because that will kind of regulate itself. So if you saw then, if you untick those, there's a line appears at the bottom here. As soon as you tick that, it gives you is at least 15. So as we saw before, the scoring is out of 20. So if we said 15, quite a few of our scouts are around about the 12, 13. So even 15 would be better. We'll click OK and see what comes through. Click OK again. We can actually scroll with this sidebar. We can scroll down. Now there's a lot of them. So what we can do again, we can refine that search. So if we go back to edit search, if we click the plus button, we can go up to 16 for ability, 16 for potential. Click OK. That's refined it slightly. There's still quite a lot of them. Back to edit search, we can take it up another notch, 17. So we're getting to the level now where these scouts are 17, 18, 19, 20. They are the top scouts in the game. Click OK again. So now you can see we've refined it quite a lot. So we need to come over to this button here. At the moment it's on medical team attributes, which we don't want obviously. So we want on the mental attributes, and that will give us, we'll come over here, adaptability, determination, motivation, tactical knowledge, discipline, judging player ability, judging player potential, staff ability, analysing data, and negotiating. So we can now see down here, I mean, we can take it up another notch. Let's take it all the way to 20. You can see if we take the adaptability up to 20, it takes, so that there are no scouts available at the moment with a judging ability of 20. So we'd have to go back in again and take that down. So let's go 18s on them both. Now you can see now we've reduced the number of scouts that are available who've got a judging the player ability and judging the player potential to a minimum of 18. So these are the cream of the crop. We can have a quick look down now. FIA means they're a free agent. Fabio D'Amico, he's a free agent. It's not with a club, isn't going to cost us a release fee or anything. He's got a judging player ability of 18, judging player potential of 19, and he's got an adaptability of 15, which is quite good. If we look down the next one, Martin Glover, he's got a judging player ability of 19, potential 19. He's got an adaptability of 20. So again, if we think about maybe trying to send him to South America or Italy, he's much more likely to be able to settle in quickly, get the lay of the land and hit the ground running. The slight problem with him is he's already employed by Southampton. So if to bear all these things in mind, if we wanted to go for him, he is going to come at a cost. So this is what I normally do. Go into the search, narrow it down. Let's try and sign Martin Glover. So we go into Martin Glover. We can see he's great, you know. England is top class scouting, but I could send him. Let's just see if he's got. So another thing that will determine is what languages he can speak. So if we go into the overview and go on to information, he's fluent in English, obviously. If he did always got an adaptability of 20 to go to, let's say, Argentina, he wouldn't be able to speak the language. So all these things have got to be borne in mind. Like I said in my first video, it's a very complex game, Football Manager. There's lots to learn. I'm trying to run you through the basics here. You can go so much more in depth. But let's just try, and if we go into the contract, an approach to sign. So in here, it's telling us that we're going to offer him a contract of 4 years on $8,750 a week, full time. He wants to be a chief scout. Now we do need a chief scout, bear in mind. So that could actually be quite useful for us. I'm not saying he's the best person out there for it. Personally, I would like somebody who's a little bit more adaptable, in that he can speak 2 or 3 languages and his adaptability is 18, 19, 20. Important down here, current compensation, 775,000. So the compensation for him is going to be $750,000. Again, bear that in mind. Have you got the money to do that? Is the board going to be happy with you doing that? Even if you offer this, what's his name, Martin, even if you offer Martin a contract, there is nothing to say that Southampton are not going to go to him and say, look, mate, we'll offer you 10 grand. Will you stay? The chances are he probably will, because he's settled in Southampton. He's getting a bit more money. So it's not a given, even though you offer a contract. But that's the way that you do it. So if we go back to the overview again, and we click on the recruitment team, I'm going to show you now the basics of setting up a scout. So just by way of example, I've switched over to my Exeter save. That's a journeyman save. I started with Chorley. I've now moved on to Exeter and I'm doing quite well with them. I'll stick a link up here for you if you want to have a quick look at that. It'd be great if you had a look. Give me a subscribe. Give me a like if you like what you see. But like I say, and I think this is a really good example, it demonstrates. So if you look at the bar charts that I have for Exeter's staff, so my coaching staff, if we just look at attacking, I'm the best in Sky Bet League 2, the worst is Oldham. And you can see in my coaching, I'm top notch for everything. Not got a huge amount of scouts. We're Exeter, we're not like Leicester, we can't have 13 scouts at Exeter. I have 2 scouts here and 1 chief scout, but as you can see, judging player ability, we're first in Sky Bet League 2, worst is Swindon. So that's a good example of getting good scouts in, and that bar chart will rise, and the more that bar chart hits the top line, the better your staff levels will be. So I'm just going to give you a few basics now on how you would set a scout up. So again, if we're going to recruitment team, and let's say we go for Joe Garner. So as you can see at Exeter, judging player ability 8, judging player potential 6, and he's got an adaptability of 11. But as you saw in the bar chart, we are top or very near the top. So at this level, 8 and 6 is considered to be really good. So how do we set him about scouting? So if we go to reports and go up to scout assignments, and then we get this page opens up. Create a new assignment. So at the moment, he's scouting the next opposition. So there's various things in scouting. There's scouting new players, there's scouting the next opposition, there's scouting upcoming opposition teams. So we're going to create a new assignment for him. So if we click this button here, and then we get this box opens. So in here, again, quite complicated this, just run you through the basics. So we can either scout players, team, or match. So like I said, we can scout the next match, or we can scout upcoming games or games that we're not even involved in. Player type, we can scout first team players, backup, hot prospect, replacement for. So we could do a replacement for a player of ours that we're either looking to sell or we're retiring. And we can also do a tactic. So we can scout a player that fits into the tactic, our main tactic that we're playing. We can also scout a position. Come over to this button. So transfer type is transfer, loan, or end of contract. We might be scouting players who are out of contract, who are not going to cost us any money to bring them in as a transfer fee. So again, we can refine it in there. We can do the transfer budget. So we can select in here our transfer budget, what we want to pay for a player. We can also scout for attributes. If we want somebody who's great at taking corners, click the box. If you want somebody who's really pacey with great acceleration, click the boxes. So let's say we want to scout for upcoming talent, not specific to a tactic or whatever. If we come over to this button, add competition. So in here, we can scout competitions, nations, regions. So if we come to nation, Europe, because of the scouting budget is quite limited at Exeter, we can only do England, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales. Obviously, with the previous example that I was showing you at Leicester, they would have a world package. I'll show you a little about that in a second. So if we go to England, so we're looking for an English player. This button here will give you a drop down box. So we can scout him by age. If we click age, is at the most 33. We don't really want, well, I don't normally sign older players. Sometimes you do need a bit of experience, but just for this example, let's say we want a player that's no older than 25. If we click the drop down box again, we can now go to scout current ability. And then if we open this box up, is at least, you can see in here, it goes from unsuitable to star. So at least we want him to be a decent player. And if we click that drop down box again, the potential ability this time, and this is where the current ability and potential ability comes in with the scout. So this time we're going to say we want him to be excellent. We could have him as a star player, but Exeter, let's go superb. It's Exeter. We have to cut our cloth a little bit. So we'll go for superb. So we've asked the scout to go and look in England for a player that's no more than 25. He's got a range from decent to superb. The next box here that we want to click is duration. So until finished, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, or ongoing. I generally go for ongoing because the scout is in England, so it's not costing us huge amounts of money for him in travelling costs, etc. He's got no flights to Argentina, for instance, and huge hotel bills. So we're saying we want that ongoing, and we're going to start the assignment. Click the button, and now Joe Garner will go away and he'll look for players in that criteria. And I think the last thing I'm going to say today, before I mash your head with too much information, if we just come down to the scouting button on this left hand side, every team has a scouting budget. So at the beginning of each season, you will be given a scouting budget. Again, depending on your team and the level that they're at, that can range from kind of no scouting budget at all really, up to a world package at the top end of the football scale, where you can scout all over the world. You probably have 25 scouts out doing the job. Here at Exeter, as you've seen, we've got 2 scouts and 1 chief scout. So our scouting budget is 42,000, and we've got remaining of that 24,000. At the moment, we're on the 23rd of November 2024. So in November, we've got 24,000 left, just over half of our budget. What you can do, if you want to do, you can click on scouting budget, and in here there is a slider. So if you've got some transfer budget that you're not using and you don't intend to use, you can move this slider and put more money into the scouting budget. And it can work the other way as well. If you think, right, okay, I'm happy with my team, don't want to do any more scouting, if that slider allows you to, at the moment it's not allowing us to, the slider is fully over on the transfer budget side. As you can see, I've got a transfer budget of 108,000. But if it was allowing us, if the slider was down here, we could move the slider up and put more into our transfer budget, take it out of the scouting budget. At this moment in time, Exeter City are not allowing me to do that. So we kind of, if I wanted to put more money into scouting budget and maybe say ask for an extra couple of scouts, don't know whether they will allow that at Exeter, but we could do that. We could switch some money out of the transfer budget into the scouting budget. So I hope you found that interesting and informative. I've tried not to mash your head too much with too many details. So believe me, even in the scouting section, there are a lot more things that you can go into. Tried to keep it fairly basic, but I think if you follow those guidelines, and again, like I said in the previous video, don't just watch my tutorial, watch others as well, because everybody has their own take on these things, and my take will be different than the next person's take. So watch more than one, gather as much information as you can. Scouting is a really important part of Football Manager. It allows you to track new talent, and at the bigger clubs you can bring in the wonderkids if you can find them, that will develop into superstars. So scouting is a really important part of Football Manager. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, give me a like, subscribe, all of that kind of stuff. It's all useful for my channel. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time.